justice and peace and equality.
Game Changers Magazine, Game Changers Media Network, Voices of the Village podcast, where change starts with conversation. We're back with an exclusive episode with attorney Janice Alford of South Atlanta Law Firm.
Family law.
South Atlanta Family Law. How you doing, ma'am?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Man, good. It's good to have you on the show. I know we kind of like, we never met each other. We bumped into each other at the Delta Sigma Theta job fair.
Yes.
We were both on the panel, and we both shared great ideas. You shared some phenomenal ideas, and the reason we brought you on the show is we're talking about family rights, right?
Okay.
So when it comes down to family rights, like, you know, the big elephant in the room, fathers having rights to their kids. Georgia, you're not legitimized. You're not a legitimate father. What's going on with Georgia law, and what do men need to do to have rights to their children? Tell us what's the process. What are we facing in Georgia?
Okay, so in Georgia, in order for you to be the legitimate father of a child, you have to either be married to the mother,
Okay.
and the child is legitimized from the process whether you marry the mother before or after the child is born.
Wow.
It's an automatic legitimation.
Okay.
And the other way you can get legitimized if the parties were not married is you have to file what's called legitimation.
Okay.
And that is a process where a father brings the action against the mother.
Okay.
And in that process, dad can get legitimation. He can also get a name change, his name added to the birth certificate if he so wishes.
Okay.
And then he's also going to get the rights to be able to make decisions when it comes to the child.
Okay.
Also, in that process, dad can also get visitation rights to the child. In some situations, dad could be asking for custody of the child, depending on the situation. But the other thing that happens is, if there is no child support order, child support is typically going to be established in that process as well.
Okay. Okay. So now, a father just doesn't have rights in Georgia. Why does a mother have rights? You know, and a father just like, oh man, I gotta go through a court system. I gotta pay somebody. I mean, it's like, I don't know, salt and pepper, eggs and jelly beans. I don't know. Tell me why. Why doesn't a father, if he, you know, he knows he's the dad and the baby looks just like him? I mean, why do we have to go through that process in Georgia?
Okay, so it's funny you say that because last night I just saw a Facebook thing where this guy's asking, why do moms not have to take DNA tests and dads have to? And the lady comes out and she's like what are you asking? That's a silly question.
Yeah.
Because biology.
Right.
The child is ours. We get handed the child during birth.
Right.
But I've had situations where a dad has come to me and said, everybody told me the child looked like me. I've held this child as my own. I've taken care of this child. And I happen to get the child swabbed and get a DNA test, and it's not mine.
What? Oh man. Even when the wow.
And it is not my child.
Okay.
And it's been years and years of me paying child support. And guess what? You don't get that child support money back.
What?
No, you do not get the child support money back.
Okay.
Because here's the thing, right? So if you have any inclination that the child is not yours, you have a duty to make sure that it's yours by doing a DNA test.
Right.
So in legitimations, we always ask the parties to consider doing a DNA test.
Okay.
And I'll be honest with you, a lot of the times the dads decline it.
What?
They decline the DNA test for the most part because they say it's my child. I know it's my child. But that does happen.
Man, I believe it.
The dad has been taking care of the child for the longest, and then he just happened to go do one of those at-home tests.
Oh, wow.
Come to find out the child is not his.
Wow.
So that's why. So moms, we know for a fact that it's our child because we get handed the baby at birth. Dads don't always know whether it's theirs or not.
Man, mama baby, daddy baby.
Yeah, and then just also think about how many times, a woman is married, she has a child, and she's having an affair, and she has a child during the marriage, and the husband thinks that's his child, and you know.
It's not.
And it's not.
Man, how many times you come across cases like that? I mean,
we've had a few of them. We've had a few of them, and it's really sad though, because the dads think that maybe they can get their money back, but they can't, because they had a duty. They had a duty for them to make sure that the child was theirs, you know. But they continue to pay the child support because, you know, they were trying to be good dads.
So you telling me if the baby's not mine, I signed the birth certificate, or I get myself put on legitimize, like whatever, then I come and find out the kid's not mine, I'm still here responsible for the child support, and the payments that I made, I can't get refunded?
Yes, you cannot get refunded for payments that you made. However, so if your name is on the birth certificate, and then and mom can take you to child support court, right?
Yeah.
And at that point, you can ask for a DNA test. If you don't, and child support gets ordered, you're gonna, you know, you are obligated to pay the child support.
Wow.
You are. So if you get called into a DHS case where child support is at issue, you should ask for a DNA test to be done.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So, what made you get involved? Who is Janice, Attorney Janice Alford? What made you get involved in family law? I mean, there's so many paths you could have taken, and so many different avenues. What made you go to family law?
Okay, so when I first decided that I was going off the doctor track and into the law track, the first thing I did was my school allowed me to shadow an attorney. And it just so happened to be a DHS attorney in New York City.
Right.
And so I sat in with them, and it was the most depressing thing that I'd ever witnessed. I think that one of the things that happened that they were discussing when I was there was somebody had taken a baby and put the baby in the oven and turned the oven on.
Oh my God.
And you know, and so I love children. Everybody who knows me know that I love children. And so I've always been an advocate for children. I actually, when I went to law school, though, I did kind of veer off track, and I focused on other areas of law. And then once I became an attorney, I did some contract work for a little bit, where I did contracts for a telecom company. And then I've dabbled in criminal law, bankruptcy, some other stuff, debt collection, that kind of stuff. But then my passion has always been family law, right? And then every single psychological test that I take, you know, gears me in that direction anyway. So, so family also has always been a passion for me. Protecting children is also something that that I'm passionate about. So I say this all the time. Sometimes I find myself advocating more for the child than I do advocating for my client, because I'm the first one to tell my client, okay, you've been unreasonable here. You know, that is dad's child. You know, if he wants to have visitation rights to his child, you know, you need to let him have a relationship with his child, because I don't like it. Judges don't like when parents alienate children from the other party. And it's always in the child's best interest to have a relationship with both parents, unless there's something wrong with one of the parents. Something really wrong with them.
Man. Yeah. And we definitely gonna talk about that, because we say in the best interest of the child, but who's holding the line, making sure that those rules get put in place? Because we're in Atlanta, man. Welcome to the players where the players play. I mean, making babies is something they do every day in Atlanta.
Yes, that is true.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm pretty sure your caseload is loaded, because, man, one thing in Atlanta, they having babies, and, you know, wrap it up, fellas, wrap it up. You know?
Yeah. Wrap it up, or wait until you get married to have that child, so that way, once the child is born, you know, you already have your rights, and so you have the same rights as the mom has. And so one of the things that I've heard men talk about is they're married and maybe they split up, and the mom, you know, they may get the child for visitation, and the mom says, "Oh, if you don't bring back my child, I'm gonna call the cops."
Yeah.
But guess what? You have the same exact rights that she has.
Wow.
You know, you have the same rights. So if she calls the cops, they're gonna tell you one of two things. They're gonna tell you to take it to family court, or they're gonna tell you he has the same rights as you have. And so they're scared, thinking that mom can get them charged, but they have the same rights that the mother has when they're married.
Man, but what's up with the cops in Atlanta? Because these cops in Atlanta, they be like, "Oh, we coming to protect and serve," and they tell the baby mama, "Hey, they slide in their car, they know me, and they be like, "Yo, call me if you need, you need to keep the joke away." I done seen that in action, so it ain't always like peaches and candy fair for the guy and the girl. So I mean, talk to me, man. What do guys get them? Because guys are getting the what we call the shit into the stick. You know what I mean?
So I guess it depends on the situation, right? So if it's a situation where they're not married, dad has not legitimated the child, and dad is taking the child is withholding the child from mom, then dad has to return the child because there's no legitimation. He has no rights.
Man.
So it really depends on that. Now, if it's a married couple, typically the cops will say you only need to take it to family court.
Okay.
And then I also want to mention that I think in Henry County a lot of the times the police they do not get involved in family disputes. I've
heard that.
They will tell you need to go file something with the court.
Right.
So it really depends on the jurisdiction. But there are also situations where sometimes the dads are then abusive to the moms, and so maybe the cop probably sees something, and so maybe that's why they've done that. And if that's the situation, then she needs to be protected.
Yeah, definitely.
And so she needs to be encouraged to call the police, make a report, file a protective order to protect her and the child until they can come to some kind of resolution about that.
Man, most definitely, man. We're gonna have to go to a commercial break. Talk a little bit more about this legitimation, visitation rights, custody rights, all that good stuff that's happening right now. I mean, a lot of brothers and there's some women that's spending money trying to fight in a legal court battle. We got Miss Attorney Janice Alford right here on Voices of the Village podcast, where change starts with conversation. Want to recognize some of our sponsors, a New Well out there on Rock Quarry Road. Also, we want to recognize Culturistic Kitchen. We also want to recognize Miss Kathy Burt from Community Care Homes. And we also want to recognize Dr. Terrence D. Foster of the D. Terrence Foster Foundation, working in the community through health initiatives. You guys stay tuned. Game Changers Magazine, Game Changers Media Network, Voices of the Village podcast, where change starts with conversation. Stay tuned. Ease up.
Justice and peace and equality.